And so I have to add to Laura's intro that I have two very strong people, Susan Davidson, who is one of our zone representatives. Wave, Susan. And also have Joan Barrett, are really the two people who spearheaded this workshop. So thank you to them. Joan's busy watching her grandson be a goaltender, I think. I believe that's it, or play hockey. Anyway, Susan, Susan Davidson, please take it away.
Yes, it would be my pleasure. Thank you, Virginia. And I certainly echo the welcome. I think it shows the commitment and the dedication of Rotarians when we come together on a Saturday morning, and Rotary is worth it, but our time is very, very precious. So I think it really shows the type of commitment of the people on the call this morning. So I certainly welcome you. And I do bring Joan's greetings. She is very sorry not to be here. As a goaltender's mother, I totally understand the feeling of being a goaltender's grandmother. So she is at the arena in Whitby this morning, watching her grandson play hockey. So as we certainly all wish him luck as well. It's my pleasure this morning to welcome Louisa Horn, all the way from the Halifax, from the Rotary Club of Halifax Harbor. And Louisa is an inspiration. And as an entrepreneur, a business leader, a former educator, and a doctoral candidate or doctoral scholar, Louisa is passionate about building relationships and connecting the dots to make things happen. She's an innovative leader, and she translates these skills to Rotary. As the chair of their district leadership team, we know it as district governor, Louisa brought change and innovation and impact to her district. She is now chair of the Innovative Club Advocate Team and will be the lead on that, or the team lead for zones 28 and 32 going forward, supporting our districts in looking at different ways of growing Rotary through innovative and different ways of forming clubs. And we know there's a lot of different options out there. We just have to take advantage of it. Louisa is an inspiration, as I said. She looks for opportunities to increase Rotary's impact, to make Rotary irresistible. And when I've heard her talk before, I always hear the words, what if and why not? And so welcome, Louisa and Beacon. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Beacon to our meeting this morning with 7070. We're absolutely delighted you could be here. Thank you.
Okay, Louisa, we need you to unmute.
Didn't want
And
to do that.
I would ask everyone else to mute, please.
So thank you, Susan, and thank you, Virginia, for organizing this. I'm delighted. And Beacon is my Rotarier, and Beacon has traveled with me for the last couple of years as we've been doing lots of things with Rotary. And we also have our Flamingo Flow, because flow has been an important part of our story. So I'm thrilled to be here from Halifax, also known as Chubuktuk. I'm on the ancestral and unceded territory of Mi'kmaq, and pleased to be able to join you. So I do have some slides, and we're going to find out now if this is all going to work from the sharing perspective. So I am sharing now, and we're going to hope that we can see all of this. All right, so now it just has to go to the beginning here, and hopefully you're seeing the full screen and not the presenter view, because sometimes I know that's weird. So we're good to go. So we're talking about growing Rotary, which is a topic that, as Susan said, I'm always happy to speak to. And I tend to try and approach things from slightly different ways. So thinking outside the box, I don't think there is a box. So I tend to just try things. As Sue mentioned, when I was district governor, I opted not to use that terminology, just to shake things up a bit and show that there were different ways. And it is an opportunity that we have now to be disruptive. And so for you as district leaders, I'm hoping that I might give you a few ideas and a few suggestions of things you might be able to consider as you disrupt, or as I sometimes am referred to, I am a shift disturber. there's an F in there. And so I think everybody can be a shift disturber if they choose to. And I'm inspired, and you'll see Beacon down at the bottom, dancing with past RI President Barry Rassin. And you may recall that, that one of Barry's metaphors, which I've loved and continued to use, is around flamingos. And you'll see the cover from the Rotarian magazine when he was introduced, that one flamingo was going the other way. And shortly thereafter, all of the flamingos turned and went the other way. It wasn't a setup, it really happened. And you'll see that on his photograph that I took of him in Hamburg a couple of years ago, it kind of took off, and he has a flamingo pin. And as I mentioned, it's sad when your adult children give you stuffed flamingos for Christmas, but that's how far I have sunk into the world of flamingos. So the flamingo of change has been an important metaphor for me that I've continued to use and will continue to use. And I think it's very helpful as we talk about some of the ideas and the things that are happening, and hopefully give you some thoughts around how you can think outside the box, or, as I mentioned, think like there is no box. Rotary has certainly given us permission over the last few years to be more flexible. We know that there are lots of different types of clubs, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that because it's all available to you to learn about different ways of doing satellite clubs, of doing passport clubs, of doing different kinds of cause-based clubs. There's lots around that. I want to step back a little bit and think about how you can look at your own club and how you can be a flamingo, how you can have the courage to go against the crowd, because we know that it's not unusual in Rotary to hear, well, we don't do it that way. Oh, that's not the way we've always done it, and I don't think Rotary allows that. Well, we know that that's not the case. There are things that you can try. And certainly in the last year and a half, we've learned to pivot when it comes to how we meet and our use of technology. And there are lots of other things that we can do within Rotary to increase our impact, because it's all about having impact and engaging people to do things that will help make the world a better place. So you need to be a flamingo. The other thing that's often mentioned when I talk about different ways of thinking about clubs is how to be irresistible. And people sometimes talk about clubs having a positive atmosphere and clubs being more attractive, or they talk about recruiting people to clubs. I tend to think about whether or not a club is irresistible. And what that means is it so enticing and attractive, magnetic even, that people are coming to you? People should be attracted by what it is that you have to offer. I don't like the word recruit, because to me, recruit implies you got to talk people into doing something. You got to go and sort of work on them and get them to come. That's not responding to something that's irresistible. If it's irresistible, there's just no desire to fight it. You want to be there. There are things that are happening. And so I always challenge people to think about, is your club irresistible? Now, one of the cool things that I've been really interested in over the last little while is that this has been used in multiple ways, this term. And in fact, Deloitte published a report not too long ago around what they called irresistible organizations. And this was based on the work world, but I think it applies perfectly to Rotary. And what they use to describe an irresistible organization is one that has these 5 characteristics. So you'll see meaningful work, supportive management or supportive leadership, a fantastic environment. They didn't just say it's a good environment or a positive environment. It's a fantastic environment. Opportunities for growth and trust in leadership. Well, if that doesn't apply to an irresistible Rotary club, I don't know what would. And so I am constantly reminding clubs to think about, do you have those 5 different things in place now? Because that's what it's going to take to make your club irresistible. And I think it's, everybody has that potential to consider how their club can have those things. And then I just put a little picture in the corner there, which is where I live. It isn't today. There's no snow today. It's a beautiful sunny day. But on very snowy, cold winter mornings, my club meets at 7:30 on a Friday morning. I have a choice to make. Now, it's a little less of a choice these days in the world of Zoom, but we're moving back to hybrid meetings and so on, and I certainly like to be with everyone. So I have a choice. Am I going to stay home in a nice warm spot in my jammies on a Friday morning? Or am I going to get up at about 5:45 in the morning to get ready to come to Halifax into the city, because I live outside the city, to go to Rotary? Well, it's got to be pretty irresistible for me to do that. There has to be a reason and there has to be a draw. So keep that in mind. What is it that makes you irresistible? Because there's lots of things that are a bit of a sign to me of a club that's not irresistible. So let's just look quickly at some of these. When I go into a club to talk to folks about what they might want to consider, I'm looking at whether or not they've had any changes in a while. Have the rituals and culture kind of stagnated a bit, and really there's resistance in some cases to changing things. Now, this is not to say that everything has to change for the sake of changing. It's not saying, oh, out with the old, in with the new. It's saying, do we have a balance? Do we see situations where new members are not staying? We know that Rotary research tells us that the majority of people leave tend to do so within 2 to 3 years. Is that happening? Are people coming? Is there that revolving door of members? And is there a revolving door with leadership? I worked with a number of clubs where it's quite common that after a year as a club president, people take a leave. Why is that happening? What's going on? The position is not irresistible. I've worked with clubs who say they can't get leaders. Why? It's not irresistible. How can we make it more attractive for people to want to serve in those leadership roles and to have a succession plan where you can have the continuity and the collaboration of leadership for several years? I've been in clubs where people say, not so sure I want to invite friends and family. We're having a bit of a rough time. Not so sure that we're ready to do that. Guests, do the guests come back? Do they come once? That's the end. Do they come twice? And that's the end. What's going on? Diversity. Is there diversity within a club, and are specific intentional things being done to address it? If not, that's a sign to me that maybe not so irresistible. Then I sometimes hear, well, we have this very small group that does everything. Not a good sign. If that is happening, we need to really think about the structure and the reasons why that might be the case. And it may be that those folks have done it for so long that other people are just intimidated to come along behind them, and they don't respond to the requests for help. People will say, well, I asked for help and nobody showed up. Well, why is that? What's been the history of what happened when people came along and maybe tried something a different way and were told, that's not the way we do it? The other thing that might be missing is the strategic direction or the key focus of the club. And we've typically had a lot of very generalist clubs that are doing lots of different things, which is wonderful. And that's what a lot of people want. But we know, especially if we look to the folks that many clubs want to attract, that they really want to see that strategic focus or that cause that is appealing and irresistible to them to get involved. There's lots more, but those are some of the signs and symptoms that I often see in clubs that are not irresistible. And I would say to them, then now is not the time to be out there trying to bring more people, talk them into, recruit them into a club that isn't where it needs to be to keep them, because they'll just be part of that revolving door. So sometimes we know we have to turn things upside down, and that takes some bravery. It's not for everybody to necessarily be prepared to do that, but I think everybody can start, and everybody can do some little things to turn things upside down and to twist a little bit to be more irresistible. So I often use the example of the inventor of digital photography, and that's him holding one of the first inventions around digital photography. And when he took it to his bosses at Kodak, which is where he worked, Kodak said, we don't do that. We do film. We aren't interested in this particular new idea that you have. Well, we know where Kodak is now, and I'm guessing not too many people have bought a lot of film lately, and we know what happened to this idea. But my reason for showing you this is that Rotary has typically not been particularly agile and adaptive. Certainly things have changed over the years. I'm not saying we haven't, but it has not had major transformations, and it has not necessarily embraced that. Even though it's possible, we have clubs that are resistant to that. And so as the guy in the bottom corner said, if you keep doing the same things over and over the same way and expect different results, Well, that's probably not the most brilliant thing to be doing. And that was one of the things that I really looked at when I did serve in the year as the district leader for 7820, which is Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Labrador, St. Pierre, Miquelon, and Prince Edward Island. So big geography, that we'd been doing things the same way every year. And we were expecting different results. Membership was going down as it was across North America. And yet we were to set goals for growth. I said, why do we do that? That makes no sense. It's not going to happen. Let's look at different ways and try some things that are different and see what happens. So we recognized, and hopefully you recognize, that it's time for change. And the profound statement here is that if we change nothing, nothing will change. But Rotary does that. Clubs do that. They think we're just going to keep doing the same old thing over and over, and hopefully this year will be different. It's not going to be different. We need to focus on our priorities and ways to address them in new and innovative ways. So Rotary has 4 priorities, and I've rejigged them a little bit because in order to remember them, I like to have an acronym. So I've modified slightly so that I can remember, and they spell out the word lead. And so the first priority with Rotary, and these are things to keep in mind with every change and every project and every new initiative, is, does it have impact? Do we have projects that we've been doing for years and years and years, and the impact is just not there anymore and it's time to retire them? Or we're starting a new thing. How can we make sure that we are leading to have the maximum impact we can have in our community? Are we addressing needs that the community has? Engagement, enhanced participant engagement is the way that Rotary refers to it. And so how are we engaging our people? How are we making sure that everybody sees a place for them in Rotary? That ties into the last one around the diversity piece, but I'll come back to that. A, increase our ability to adapt. So the adapting and the being agile are both critical as we look at new ways of doing things and attracting new people. Because at the end of the day, when we talk about growth, and I'll show you in a minute, growth can mean a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we are looking to engage more people to be able to have more impact. And to do that, we need to address diversity. So the statement from Rotary is around expanding our reach, and I interpret that to mean through inclusion and through diversity, and because that made a nice word as well, lead. So that's the little tweak on the way to express that priority. And we need to be intentional with that. So for example, my club was the first club in the Rotary world quite a few years ago to participate in the Halifax Pride Parade. It was a big thing. Not everybody was in favor of it, but we tried it. We've done it every year since, except last year when there wasn't one. But it was an intentional piece that said Rotary is here, Rotary is part of this, and it made an impact because of the intentional presence and the demonstration of inclusion. So, mirror, mirror on the wall, moment of truth. So there's poor little Beacon looking in the mirror, but as you can hopefully see, he's not seeing the reflection of himself. Now I'm just going to cover his ears for a minute, because the reality is Beacon is not a real dog. He doesn't know that, but he's not. So he looks in the mirror and he sees his brother, who is a real dog, one of my babies, and thinks that's him. Well, we do that a lot in Rotary. We think we're pretty awesome. We look at our clubs and we think our club is great. And we talk about all the wonderful things we do. And when the district governor comes for the visit, we tell the district governor all the wonderful things that we do. My experience has been, it's often a situation like Beacon looking in the mirror and seeing something that may not be totally realistic. And so my message is, the moment of truth here is that we need to look in the mirror and see our club for what it is. We need to be prepared to examine all moments of truth. If you know that phrase, it came from a CEO of Scandinavian Airlines some years ago, who said we have to look at thousands of moments of truth and address every single one and make sure that it's excellent, or in my case, irresistible. That means, how do people find you? What do they pay? What are the programs? What's it like? What's the culture like? What's the food like if you have food? What's the schedule like? Service projects, international projects, youth, everything. Look at them all realistically and think about what needs to change. When we think about growth, it means a lot of different things. The first one, of course, is numbers. Everybody wants more people. You have to think about that and say, why? What are they experiencing? What are they going to be engaged in? What's going to be the irresistible thing that will attract them? And how do we know that we're going to have the environment and the culture for them to want to stay? So growth in members is what we generally think of. But there's also growth in lots of other areas. We can think about growth in terms of the number of clubs and starting a satellite. So for many people, we're hearing a lot of pressure around and a lot of encouragement to start new clubs. And that's a great thing for a district to be thinking about, or even a club to think about. I think it's probably more realistic for clubs looking to grow to think about satellites that might be quite different from your main club. It could be focused on a particular cause. It could be focused on a particular geographic area, although that's less the case as we use technology more. It could be focused on a particular passion that certain people have. It can be focused on whatever you want it to be focused on, but it becomes part of your club's growth. If you think in terms of starting a satellite that can be particularly effective, especially in clubs that are resistant to change and a certain number of people want to keep things the way they are, great, do that. Let's go over here to the side and do something a little bit different. We look at growth in terms of our diversity. That's a growth thing to consider for the year. If you're looking at growing Rotary, that's a way to consider it. So is service. How do we grow our impact through service? How do we look at the needs of our community that are not being met now that we have the potential to take a role in? That will attract new people. Learning and leadership development. How do you grow in that? You're obviously doing it. You've gotten up on a Saturday morning and you're here. So that's an area where you can continue to grow as well. Engagement, keeping people involved, and what else can we do to grow that? Grow the funds, grow the awareness and public image, look at our partnerships with community groups. All of those are possible areas that we can grow. And of course, international activity. And then I left ... because there are more. There are other things that can happen that you can consider part of your club's growth. Now, it's not all going to work beautifully. There will certainly be some of those days. There will certainly be resistance. There will certainly be those who are skeptics, and that's okay. And part of being in a leadership role is being prepared to have your feathers ruffled a little bit and still be able to keep going. And so that's a key part of this as a leader, to have the courage, if we think of it that way, to be able to move forward and to be able to do things in new ways and recognize that, that it's not going to be embraced by everyone. However, the key thing here to remember is that it's all about, and I've got it here as an acronym again, it's all about me, but in this case, me is member experience. If you are constantly focused in your club on how to create a member experience that is second to none, people will want to be part of what you do. That is, again, back to that irresistibility piece. If the experience is one that gets me out of bed on a Friday morning at 5 a.m. to go through the snow to get there, it's a pretty awesome experience. And that's what you need to be considering all the time. So the courage piece, again, they're not all going to work. Not all these things are going to work. So some of the things that I tried in the year that I was the chair of the district leadership team, not the district governor. I didn't use it. As I said, I specifically wanted to show people that we could do things differently and the sky would not fall. As you can imagine, there were people who said, well, you can't do that. I said, well, why can't I? Show me where it says I can't. Well, of course, there wasn't anywhere that said I couldn't. So we tried it. That was something that was successful. The person who came after me didn't continue that, but the person this year is doing it again to show that we have a team, that we can make this a role that is attractive to people who work full time, to people that don't want to be the only one on the button for everything that happens, that there's a team that you can work with to show that it can be done in a different way. That worked. I didn't crash and burn on that one. We use different language as the language around the title of things. We've used different language in my own club. When we looked in the mirror, we interviewed everyone in the club, but we also interviewed everyone who'd left for the last few years that we could find. And we learned a lot and we made changes to language. So an example one of the people who had left said, I didn't know Rotary had a military connection. I said, what do you mean military connection? Well, this sergeant thing. And we learned that people thought that Sergeant at Arms had some connection to a military piece for Rotary that was ongoing, and that it wasn't a very friendly term. It wasn't something that necessarily was attractive to a particular audience. Well, we changed it. We now call it a host. Well, suddenly it's a more welcoming term to use. So language can be part of what we can consider. We also did a lot of things differently within the district that we tried, and not all of them worked beautifully, but most of them did. And so it was just having that willingness and courage to give it a try. The other thing that's important is to stay focused on the key priorities. So remember that LEAD acronym, that no matter what we do, impact, engagement, being agile, and having diversity and inclusion as part of our overall context is critical. And then finally, to recognize that not always are you going to be a successful flamingo and go the other way. Sometimes you can go the other way. Sometimes you're going to come back the way you were going in the first place. And sometimes you have to just fake it till you make it, because it's not all going to be a piece of cake. So I'm going to stop sharing if I can at this point. And I was trying to make sure we had a little bit of time available, but I know we also have time during the breakouts, but I think I'm okay time-wise. I think I originally thought I had 20 minutes, and so I think it ended up being a little more. So I will stop if that's okay and see if there are questions, if that's all right with you, Virginia.
Susan, it's your show right now, so.
Yeah, that's fine with me. If people have questions, if you raise your hand, in the reactions, there's a place you can raise your hand if you have questions, or if you're more comfortable choosing to leave them until the breakouts, that's fine too. I can't see the whole screen, but I'm going back and forth, or just shut it out. But there will be an opportunity. Oh yes, Joanne Bradley.
Yeah, thanks very much. Actually, that was a really fantastic and very engaging presentation. Can I just ask to potentially review your LEAD acronym, like what those 4 characteristics were? I just didn't get them all down.
Nope, thank you for that. So a good question. I went fairly quickly because originally I had been thinking 20 minutes. So I wanted to make sure in case there was an expectation for questions. So the L is LEAD for impact. So it's the acronym itself is LEAD, because I couldn't work I in there for impact, and I wanted the acronym to be LEAD. So it's LEAD for impact. So everything we do, it's got to have that impact. E for engagement, which is the wording that the Rotary priority has. A, adaptability and agile. I added agile to it. So we know we have to be able to adapt to changing conditions and changing demands, and a change in terms of the value proposition. I didn't use that particular term in the presentation, because sometimes people get a little bit intimidated that, oh, we're going too corporate here talking about value proposition, but I think it's actually a critical thing to consider. And so the agility to do that. And then D is for diversity, but think of it in terms of obviously equity and inclusion. And in the Rotary priority, they word it as reach. So it's that spread for what you're doing. So thank you for that.
Great, thanks very much. Appreciate that.
Okay, great. Virginia?
Yeah, Louisa, can you just expand a little bit on what you mean by value?
So the value proposition, we're not talking about values as in what are the values of the organization, but what's the value that you offer to people that you would like to attract to your club? So if you think about who do you wish was in your club, and we often have an image of oh, those mythical young professionals, those people that aren't joining Rotary at the level that we would like them to. There are certainly some, and I can see some on this call, but we'd like to have more of those young people. Well, step back a minute and say, how many of us have children who are that demographic? I do. Are they here? No, they're not. Why not? The value proposition that we have to offer does not fit their needs. They are looking for something that we're not offering. And therefore, we have to step back and say, well, what is the value proposition of the club that we have that we're trying to attract them to? So what do we do? How do we do it? What needs do we fill? What pain points do we help alleviate? What work do we do? What causes do we support? everything about our club makes our value proposition that we are offering to the world. It meets the needs of some people and it doesn't meet the needs of others. And that's normal. No organization does. But if there are people that aren't coming that we want to come, or people who have come and have left, and they've told us, oh, they don't have time, it's the usual one. That's masking something else, because we know we make time. If the value proposition is strong enough, we will make time. So what is it that we're offering to the world to become irresistible to the people we would like to attract? Does that help?
That is perfect. Thank you so much.
And did you get that recorded, Virginia?
Yeah, because I probably can't say it again. I don't know what I
It's
said.
okay.
So,
Yeah. So I should remind people that we are recording this. So you will be able to look again and probably download Louisa's presentation. It probably would make a great lunchtime or a meeting speaker as well. And
that's the other reason that I try and sort of keep to that 20-minute core in case people do want to use things in a 20-minute segment.
And you will have a chance to ask questions later on as well. So if there are no other, we can do one of two things. I can ask our district governor-elect Joseph to thank Louisa, and then we can go to our breakout rooms, and you will get a chance in those rooms to ask Louisa questions. So, shall we do that?
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, Joseph, you got work to do.
Good morning. How is everybody this morning? And good morning, Louisa, and your menagerie there, Beacon and Flo. Louisa, on behalf of everyone here today, I would like to thank you for taking this time on a Saturday morning to speak to us a very important topic of growing Rotary. I think it's a topic that it's on everybody's mind, and as a district governor-elect, it's definitely on mine. And we need to know how we're going to move forward and what are we going to do in the future. You talked about something very important this morning, and that was how do we become irresistible and not irritable. I think I think sometimes we kind of cross that line. We're irresistible to our existing members, but we're irritable to some other members. So I think we need to kind of readjust that. How do we look at ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, this is who we are? And there's a lot of soul searching we need to do, I think, as clubs to find out, what is the member experience and how do we lead for impact? And I really liked your example of says, would you get up in the morning at 7:30 on a Friday morning from your warm bed, your own bed, to go to a meeting and, which is, I guess you're outside the city. But that's a question for all of us. Do we get up in the morning on a Friday morning and say, hey, you know what, I want to go to a meeting? And if we are, we're in the right place. So on behalf of District 7070, Louisa, thank you for this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask Susan to explain the breakout rooms.
Yes, I'll do my best. Basically, we have 3 breakout rooms, and the purpose of each one is to have an opportunity for discussion and to facilitate, easy for me to say on a Saturday morning, facilitate discussion around the membership experience, our clubs, how do we make our clubs irresistible, and how do we continue to move forward in Rotary, because we know that our bottom line is impact. We want to impact our communities and our world in a positive way. And so how do we move forward and do that? This morning, the 3 breakout sessions will happen simultaneously, and participants will stay in the same session. So you get into a breakout and you'll stay in that with that same cohort, and the facilitators will move from session to session. That makes it easier. And so we do have with us this morning, and I'm looking on the screen, Kathy Carson from the Rotary Club of Scarborough. Just give us a wave, Kathy. We'll be facilitating one of the discussion groups with Lars. And we have Dan Coombs from the Rotary Club of Whitby. I'm looking, good morning, Dan, and we'll be facilitating with Jim. And these clubs have both, and these are both past presidents, sorry, and both of these clubs grew by, I think, 5+ members last year. So during a pandemic year, membership grew, a combination of retention and attraction. So both things together. I mean, members stayed, must have been engaged, but also new members came. So an opportunity to hear about what made the club attractive, what kept members, why is the club irresistible, and also, I'm sure there'll be questions around challenges and how did those challenges get turned into opportunities. So that will be 2 of the breakout sessions. And thank you so much, and Kathy and Dan, for being here and for facilitating. And then, of course, we'll have an opportunity to speak with Louise as well. So bring those questions, like how do you translate that into practice? What does that look like? And also, but I think we also need to, let's talk about the challenges too, because it's overcoming those challenges and turning them into opportunities that'll help us to move forward. So Virginia is going to work her magic and get us into the breakout rooms and with facilitator and participants, and then facilitators will move. And I think, Virginia, timing 15 minutes, is that what we had agreed on? So I think by the time we get there and get going, so we will give this a go. But again, thank you all, and certainly thank you to the facilitators.
So once you get to the breakout rooms, I believe you will automatically be on mute. So you will probably want to unmute yourselves when you want to talk, particularly our facilitators. But I know Rotarians are pretty good at saying you're on mute. So anyway, so I will, at the 14-minute mark, I will close the rooms, which means you will have 1 minute. Okay? So here we go. And also, I'm going to warn you that once I create the rooms, I will probably have to move the facilitators around a bit. Okay? So bear with me. Here we go. So please click join when you were asked the question. Hello, all. Or some. Co-hosts.
Hi.
Hello, hello. I think we must be all back. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. I apologize if people got cut short. Thank heavens I didn't have to shift you all around. It was difficult enough to shift around our facilitators, our speakers, and thank you so much, everyone, for Kathy and Dan and Louisa for leading a group. That's wonderful. Now, Susan, I need a little help here because I'm trying to find the whiteboard again.
Okay, and I guess we can make a decision. We'll be very quick on this. The idea here was just to record some salient points that came out of the discussions. And I know I had the opportunity to hear all three of the facilitated sessions, and definitely some rich points. So I think I can probably share this. I am not good with this. I'm on my daughter's computer. It's a little bit different than mine. But what I am going to try and do is, there's the text. The text box is just, I've asked, Joseph is going to let us know points that people are making, and really just through Joseph, through the chat or through calling out, please just point, and I will try to record just some of the things that we talked about today. But again, just those key points, a word, a phrase that is going to remind us ways to make our clubs irresistible. And we'll only do this, I think, in respect of time, Virginia, about 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, and if you put things in the chat room, I will also try and copy that. So
okay. And if I'm a poor speller, so please don't judge. Okay, so go. I'm ready. Go ahead.
you will need to unmute to be heard. By the way, people who want to make comments.
One of our comments was fireside chats are not just they can help revisioning and welcoming new members. It can do a myriad of things.
Great. Okay, keep them coming.
Kathy just mentioned joint projects.
Technology phobia.
Engagement. That was a good point.
Yeah.
Not just focusing on fundraising.
Technology phobia.
Sorry?
Technology phobia.
Yes.
Thanks, Lars.
Rookie committee. Oh, that's okay. Keep going. We'll fix the spelling.
Engage new members or involve them from the beginning.
Yeah.
Shorten the application time or whatever you call it, the period to become a member.
Asking prospective members how they would like to change the world, what's important to them, and not just saying what we do, a list of things. Turning the conversation around.
And just know if you put comments in the chat room, and if Susan doesn't get them, I will. So feel free.
Here's one. Vet new members through working on something together, like a food bank, as an example.
We also had examples of the idea of having 2-year terms. Not everyone is interested in that, but it's a possibility. Or the other way around, there's the Parkdale Club that basically rotates the leadership through the club.
Oh, I'm sorry, rotate membership through.
Oh, the leadership. So,
okay.
Kathy, you're sort of president for a month.
Oh, okay.
Or a quarter.
Or 2 years.
Or 2 years.
I'll do it like that, and we can figure out. I think we know what it means.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's another through the chat. Sharing the chairing duties.
Sharing and,
The
sorry?
chairing duties.
Oh, shit, yes.
And one Dan mentioned during his talk was the 80-20 rule.
The,
80-20.
20 rule.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But he also said to turn the 80-20 to 60-40 if you can.
That's a good point.
Okay. We have two here, joint meetings.
60-40.
60-40.
Yeah.
Okay, joint meetings.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, sorry.
Okay, that's it.
And another, as you said, there was another one?
Yeah, I guess it's help members grow financially through networking and mentoring.
Oh, so it's sort of looking at the vocational aspect. Yep, you can come.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a helper again. I just need my horn here. Yeah. It's okay, honey, you can stay. I guess you don't forget vocational aspect or avenue.
Yes. Other comments from people? Anything?
Yeah.
Say them out loud. You can unmute and
We've
say
got
them.
time for about 2 more, I think.
Have a meaningful event.
Gosh. Meaningful event. Yes. Oh, yes.
I just posted one there, Virginia.
Okay.
I
think this, yeah.
one that we have been overlooking that for our history.
I have to listen
Involving Rotaractors in every club activities and having one sit on your board.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, man. This is involving Rotaractors on board, etc. Okay, I think I'll it's almost 1/4 Virginia. I think I'll cut this off, but we'll save it. And I think
Good job.
a lot of good ideas. I also think of Louise's acronyms, LEAD and ME.
Yes.
I think that's probably kind of the bottom line of a lot of it, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I would, well, everyone, great. Oh, I see. Outreach, public face. Kathy, email me or text me that comment. And anyone else, you're doing dishes today or you're out for a walk and you say, oh, I should have said this. Email it to me. Text it to me. We'll add it to the whiteboard. Okay? So if you're falling asleep tonight, don't call me, but just text. All right. I would like to, first of all, Louisa, thank you so much. Thank you to the menagerie. We love them. And it means a lot to see all of you out here because membership really is crucial. That is our lifeblood. That is how we are going to be alive and well and vibrant in another 100 years. So keep your eyes peeled for, we will have Grow Rotary 3 probably in, I believe it's scheduled for January. And also for your new members over the next couple of months, we will have new member sessions as well. So just 1 hour in the evening to help acquaint new members with Rotary. So thank you all very much. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Virginia.
Bye.
And certainly,
Thank you.
Thank you to
everyone.
all.
Virginia.
Good session.
Thanks,
Have a great
Virginia.
day.
Don't
Bye-bye.
forget the family of Rotary.
Thanks,
Oh,
Louisa.
family of Rotary. There you go.
Yeah, start them young. Tell them they won't be in the will. It works.
Thanks very much.
We're 2 for 2. It works.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. We're gone. And, oh, was that Susan Hunter? Heather.